All right, guys, so let's talk about the 4 simple things you need to do in order to retire a millionaire. It's something everybody wants to do, but yet we make it so complicated when the reality is it's quite simple if you follow these 4 steps. That's what we're all about right here, getting you guys retired and financially free as easy as possible because everything is basically set up to be this complex. You need this and then this type of account, and then you do this and you move money over here, all this crazy stuff. And we forget about the simple things, the basics that get you 99.9% of the way there. You know, the other little, we're always worried about the little 0.01% over here and the 0.01% over there and everything else. Don't worry about any of that. Simply focus on keeping it simple, following these 4 steps, and you will be able to retire a millionaire too. So first up, stop doing what everyone else does. Look, guys, here's kind of the bottom line with this one right here. Millionaires think differently than everybody else, and they act differently than everyone else. Now, I'm not talking about idiots on social media and stuff like that, where we feel like that represents rich people. It doesn't. It's less than 5% of the rich people act, or in some cases, they act that way for their social media. That's not even actually how they are in real life. But celebrities, that type thing. Get rid of that. The other 95% of incredibly wealthy people don't act like the 99%. They just don't. They act differently. They think differently. They do everything differently. So my question to you is why are you acting like the 99% if you want to be the 1%? That's the question you got to ask yourself. If you look like everybody else who's in your situation, you probably aren't going to get where you want to be in the end. If your investments look the same, if the way you view money is the same, if the way you spend your money is the same, if your thought process around building wealth is exactly the same, you probably aren't going to get there. If you believe in the old way of doing things, that may very well, now I understand some of you guys are older, it might very well work, but for the vast majority of people today, the old way isn't going to work. It just doesn't. So if you're chasing that traditional retirement and not looking at a different way and viewing retirement differently than the traditional way of doing it, you're never going to get there. That's why we're seeing record numbers of older folks working. That's why the statistics show we're going to see that number increase significantly every single year because they're chasing an old way that doesn't work and they're still chasing it. They're 70 years old and they're still chasing it. That's why I created a blacklist to show you how easy it is and how little money you actually need and how quickly you can get to retirement, but you got to get rid of the old traditional way. You cannot think that way at all. If you jump into the blacklist and you bring up all the things that we've been taught about traditional retirement for years and years and years and years, you're not going to succeed in the program. And we have people who have succeeded over and over and over again. So we know the program works. The math is the math. You want to argue with math? Well, I can't help you at all. I'm sorry. Kind of one of those things. I can't help you out there at all. And founder spots are about filled up and done. So make sure you check out the pinned comment down there and get your founder spot where you get free lifetime access and a whole lot more, guys. Make sure you check out the pinned comment down there. Some other things where you kind of need to break away from everybody else is stop saying things like, oh, that won't work for me. Oh, my situation's different. My spouse wouldn't do that. Yeah, that just doesn't work for me. Or if you're the type person that just throws up 1,000 different what ifs or how it can't work, instead of trying to figure out how it can work, well, you're just like everybody else and you're going to end up like everybody else. If you're going to tell me you can't do something, you're going to be correct. You can't do it. Exactly the same for the exact same person in the exact same situation, the exact same everything that says that they can do it. They're going to find a way to do it. The question is, which one do you want to be? And if you look like everybody else, you're most likely going to be over here in this category of making excuses, tell me why it won't work for you, and therefore you'll never actually get there. And the final point here is to stop spending to impress folks who honestly don't even care about you in the first place, and you may not even care about in the first place. I see it all the time. Folks, I gotta drive this particular car because people at work will think differently of me. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Who freaking cares what somebody thinks of you at work in regards to what you drive? The last time I checked, most of the people are, upside down on their car, have a car payment where you could almost have an investment property instead that would pay you. And more importantly, a lot of times they don't even like their work friends. They don't even like the people at their work, but yet they're trying to impress them. It makes absolutely no sense. That goes for cars, clothing, all kinds of other things of that nature, the latest gadget, whatever the case is. I don't know about you guys, but I want to be wealthy. I don't want to look like everybody else and pretend like I'm wealthy with all my stuff. So stop spending to impress folks who you honestly may not even care about. So number 2, understand everything is an asset or an expense. Look, guys, in the end, every single thing in your life is either an asset or it's an expense. And how I define that is it either makes you money or it costs you money in the end. That's it. There is no in between when we're talking about money and material items like this. Your car is an expense unless you've somehow turned it into a business. Otherwise, it is a complete expense. Now, having said that, an expense can actually be an asset as well. For instance, and listen very carefully here, guys, I'm going to create a little bit of controversy here. I apologize, but hear me all the way through here and think about what I just said. It either costs you money or it makes you money. But your house is an expense, but it can be an asset through house hacking where somebody's paying you to live in your own home. That's the difference right there. If you're having to pay $2,500 a month to your mortgage, it's not an asset. Now, I understand it can increase in value, and over the long run, I know there's all this stuff out there, again, traditional ways of doing things where it's an asset and they're telling you it's an asset. That's great, but if housing doesn't go up for the next 10 years, it's not really much of an asset. More importantly, putting your money every month towards that, there's better uses and better investment of that money. Why not house hack to where somebody is paying you to live there, to where instead of you paying $2,500 towards that mortgage, somebody else is paying $2,500 and taking care of that mortgage for you. So that frees up your $2,500 a month to put out there and invest in a different asset, maybe another rental property, maybe into stocks, whatever the case is. Those are two completely different scenarios, and it completely changes the game in terms of your finances. Think about that for just a second. If you take away your car payment because you decided to trade in your new car that you got to have every couple of years to keep up with the Joneses, because statistically that's what we do, and then have a nice used car instead that barely has, obviously it goes from what the average car payment is, $600, $700 a month, whatever the case is for that. Okay, get rid of that altogether. Now you just have your expenses just simply for your insurance and your gas and maintenance on the vehicle. Hey, you just saved a chunk of money right there. And then imagine not having to pay into that mortgage as well. So all of a sudden, that's another huge chunk of money that can go towards your wealth building as well. Once you understand everything is either an asset or an expense, you'll understand why you want to get rid of as many expenses as possible and instead be putting that money towards assets that pay you in the end. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like paying for stuff. I like it much better whenever I get paid. And especially whenever you start getting into more passive investments, they're not always completely passive. You've got to put some work in. But boy, the cost benefit analysis of that sort of thing, like for instance, whenever you own a great stock and it goes up 50,000% over the time you've owned it. And what did you do exactly to do that? Nothing. You just simply bought it and held it. That's all that you did. That's called letting your money work for you. But your money cannot work for you if it's all going out, if you're paying for all of it, if it's losing you money in the end because the money's coming out of your wallet. Understanding this concept is the key to actually becoming a millionaire and being able to retire. And those that master it and get more extreme with it, the faster and the quicker they can actually retire. Again, that's exactly what the blacklist is all about, is accelerating this process, as fast as possible and getting you there as fast as possible. That's why we have a step-by-step process in there, walking you through exactly how to do all of it. Start, basically zero to hero on the other end. Number 3, save, save, and save. Getting those expenses down allows you to save more. And I know this is hard. This has definitely took me a little while to kind of get in this mindset. Now I can't get out of this mindset, but make your first instinct. Anytime money hits your pocket, anytime it does anything, you get a raise at work, whatever the case is, doesn't matter. Anytime money comes to you, make it your first instinct to say, how can I save this? Instead of what can I spend it on? People will have, and I'm not kidding, I will sit down with folks, we're talking about, financial planning, maybe we're in the blacklist there, we're talking about the retirement, and we're talking about plans, and what exactly are they looking to do? What exactly are they trying to achieve there? And the only thing that they can tell me is what they want to buy. They have the purchases laid out forever now, and they have timelines even in some cases. It's crazy. But they don't have a plan at all to get to retirement. I mean, that's crazy. They have a plan for what they're going to buy. They join the blacklist because they want to get there and be able to retire because that's ultimately the goal. But then when I ask what just kind of their general plan is, what's the outline, what's the goal, they have none of that except for what they want to buy. That means that they have it completely backwards. And we have to start all over, get rid of everything you want to buy. And let's start off with a plan and goals to get to. And then at that stage, maybe we can look at a plan to buy something later on once we figured out how to do the math in order to actually get you to where you want to go in terms of goals. You actually want to retire and retire a millionaire. We need to plan and get yourself a goal there. Sorry, deciding that you want this fancy car, you want to own a Tesla one day is not a good plan to get yourself there. That goal does not help you get over here. We need to hit this, and then we can figure out how we can incorporate that into the plan, but it doesn't work in reverse. And unfortunately, that is what most people do. Same exact thing. They view raises, promotions, all those sort of things as an opportunity to upgrade their lifestyles, move on to that dream house that they've always wanted, or whatever the case is. We have a million different things that we're sold and marketed to that we all believe we need and we want, but it's not actually true. And the proper way to view it, if you want to be a millionaire and to be able to retire, is to actually view it as an opportunity to save more, because that's how millionaires view it. Every single thing. A business booms and takes off, they're not immediately trying to figure out how they're going to spend that money. They're figuring out, great, how do I take that and how do I move that into my next venture? How do I take that money and have it spit off cash flow for me over the long run? That is immediately where a millionaire's mind goes. It does not go to all the things that they can buy. Now, sure, does that eventually incorporate themselves in? Maybe. For some it does, for some it doesn't. But overall, the next step, that's how they got to be that millionaire. That's how they had that big promotion. That's how they had that business take off. That's how they had that investment take off, because they were focusing on growing those assets, saving that money, and moving it into something else, which leads perfectly into number 4, which is you need to invest. Millionaires are always viewing things from an investment lens. I mean, heck, we joke around in my stock group all the time about how when somebody goes to buy something, just like they go out dinner and drinks with friends and they're like, holy crap, I could have bought, 5 shares of Palantir with that dinner last night, or whatever the case was. When you get to that point where you're viewing things from an investment lens, that's kind of the thoughts that you start having. Yeah, it's kind of goofy. Of course, you don't want to make decisions on, oh, wait, do I take my medicine, because I'm sick, or do I save that money and put it in stocks? You don't want to go that far with it. I agree with that completely. But with a lot of day in and day out purchases and a lot of things that we do that are silly, that are honestly are a waste of money in a lot of cases, when you're viewing it from an investment lens, you start to make better decisions. More importantly, I know we just talked about you got to save, and I agree with that completely, but a lot of folks will just save, but they're too scared to invest. So they end up actually making it much harder on themselves to become a millionaire, maybe even impossible, because it's just virtually impossible to save $1 million. Definitely, it's harder to save $1 million than it is to invest and grow yourself to that $1 million mark or more. Actually, I honestly don't know anybody that's just saved to a millionaire without investing the money as well. Now, is that hard work? Is learning how to invest hard work? Yes, absolutely it is. It is incredibly hard work, but it is absolutely well worth it. It is the best and the fastest way to get yourself to that millionaire status. Trying to save your way there is a noble goal, but it's virtually impossible. More importantly, inflation and a lot of other things are working against you and eroding that. You need a better yield than that. And that's why learning to invest is so important. You don't need to get fancy with it. You don't need to do all these sort of fancy things, but to think you can just save your way to millions is not correct also. You're saving your money so then you can invest it, so then it can get out there and work for you, because investments are like little workers working for you all over the place while you're sleeping, while you're doing all kinds of other things, while you're working on your money loops, while you're growing your money, while you're getting your expenses down and increasing things that pay you. That's what investments are out there doing. They're out there drawing in more income, growing your net worth, growing the amount of money that you can invest. They're doing all those things for you. That is the beauty of investing. They're like little workers working for you to help you reach that goal of being retired, and more importantly, being retired a millionaire. So make sure you get your founder spot for the blacklist if you want to learn how to retire on as little as $300,000 and as quickly as 1 to 5 years. Guys, that is exactly how the program's designed. We've had people do it. So it's not like this theory or this thing that's out there. No, folks have done it. We have experts in there that have already done it. They're already retired, using the system, doing it exactly like we discussed in there, where we walk you step by step through it all. We help you out with coaching and everything else. Make sure you check out the pinned comment and see if that's right for you. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.